Welcome to the Steroids Podcast with your host, Dan the Bodybuilder from Thailand. Boom! Boom! Let's get started here. The Steroids Podcast is brought to you by Ultimate Guide to ROIDS, 109-page ebook by Dan the Bodybuilder from Thailand. Now, for the first time in bodybuilding history, you have someone with no corporate interests and no obligation to please anyone, not walking on eggshells to not offend. Ultimate Guide to ROIDS gives you the information, the whole truth, not a full truth and a half truth, full truth. Ultimate Guide to ROIDS gives you the keys to the Lamborghini, gives you the information, and lets you decide what to do with it. It's a crime this information has been suppressed this long. Now let's get on with the podcast.
All right, what's up? This is Dan, bodybuilder from Thailand. I'm in South America now, just to let you guys know. Most of you guys already know that. But yeah, this past year, it was a crazy year, man. I was in America for a little while. I was in Poland, then I was in Latvia, then I flew to Thailand, and I was there for like 5 months, and then now I'm back here I'm here in South America now, in Latin America. Thailand was a good trip, but some people ask, where do you live when you're in Thailand? I don't live in the tourist areas, so where I live is out where the rice farms are. I go to Thailand to relax, to get away from the Western world, to get away from everything that has to do with that. So, I don't go there and live in the tourist area or have some kind of party lifestyle over there like the normal people that you see going there. I'm going where you don't really see any other foreigners. I'm like the only one, and I hang out with Thai people, and I live the Thai lifestyle. I eat all the crazy food, that the Thai people eat. I hang out with the Thai guys. They're my buddies. And, we eat organs and all kinds of super spicy stuff and weird stuff. And you know what? This time, I actually got a parasite. And I never got a parasite before. This was the first time. And, that fucked me up pretty good. And, but I'm getting over it now. I'm feeling better. So major plus there. And, I figure if I'm in all these tropical places all the time and shit, eventually you're going to get some kind of crazy tropical diseases. So, I had some doctor's visits and everything to try to clear that up, and feeling better now. So it's been a great year, with being all around the world and in all these different places that I've been, it really changes my perspective, guys, on what's going on with the world, because especially the main thing is that we have this social instinct. And so, wherever you are, you're going to be influenced by the people that are around you. But if you don't really have a home culture, or you don't have people who believe a certain thing or think a certain way or say that a certain lifestyle is the way that you should be, if you're not around that and having that reinforced all the time, your mind becomes open to other ways of living. And, that's one of the things that, people have asked me before, or they've just commented before, like, oh, you seem to be more about the quality or the character of the person, and that's how you judge someone, rather than what kind of stuff they have, what kind of appearance they have, what kind of possessions they have, stuff like that. And that's exactly right. I don't measure a man by his bank account. I think that's like insanity. The way that I measure a man is by how much truth and how much warrior spirit and how much authenticity does this motherfucker have, And so when I meet people, I'm analyzing them like that, I'm looking in very deeply and examining their behavior and seeing, hey, is this the kind of guy who, if I was in a war zone, I could trust this dude in a foxhole with my life, okay? And those are the kind of people that I want to have around me. I don't care what the hell you look like. I don't care what the hell you have. I don't care about your status or any of that stuff. The shit that I care about is, can I depend on you? Are you someone I can trust? Are you somebody who has a clean character, who has a strong conscience? Are you someone I can depend on? That's how I measure a man. And, you know, I probably didn't before I started traveling around. I probably didn't. But, you know, I probably thought more like, oh, well, you know, whatever our materialistic society says is you got to do that in order to be good, or else you're a shit man and you should have a low self-esteem. And that's absolutely incorrect. Okay? So if you look at the stuff that's going on in the world right now, and you think everything's crazy, well, you know what? If you can find people who you can freaking depend on, and you can have, that's it. That is it. That is it. Okay? You find people who you can depend on, because all this other stuff, all this society stuff, it's just this fragile illusion that's been built up, and it can come crashing down around your head fast. And there is no other better explanation for the opposite of society than war. So war is the opposite of civilization. It's the opposite of society. Instead of doing good to your fellow man, you're doing the baddest thing to your fellow man. That's why war is completely satanic and war is completely evil. Okay? So when we, I'm not going to get into that. Okay? But I am just going to get into the fact that, you know, if you're a lot of guys, you know, especially this young generation, you know, looking for, you know, I don't have any purpose in my life. And that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons why they're drawn to bodybuilding, okay? Because mental illness and mood disorders are a huge epidemic in bodybuilding. That's why I talk about this stuff. I know you guys need to hear it. And the thing is that if you are looking for direction and purpose in your life, there is only a few things that can give this to you, okay? One is building a business or making money, you know, honest work, okay? Honest work. Not cheating work, not trying to cheat people and fuck people over in order to gain yourself, okay? But honest work. That is one way you can gain satisfaction. Another way that you can be satisfied with your life is building a family. Another way that you can be satisfied with your life is joining the military and having that band of brothers around you. And the other one is building up your body and exercising. That's pretty much it, guys. And that's pretty much it. As far as like, what can you pursue that's going to make you feel satisfied with your life and going to make you feel good about yourself? If you're getting distracted with all this other shit, I mean, you can add other shit to your life, okay? Onto that base right there. Those 4 things that can be your base. You can add other things, activities, skills, etc. Okay? But if you don't have that base, you will feel completely directionless, okay? So really, you know, you're being distracted by all this shit. You're being distracted by all this stuff out there that is not important. And she said, think about this, think about that, think about this. This is what you need to be good. This is what you need to be a modern man. This is what you need to feel good about yourself in society. You know, maybe you even need steroids, plastic surgery, you know, or you may feel like, oh, I'm not an alpha, so I want to be an alpha though, and so I'm going to take steroids to try and cover up the fact that I'm beta, and then, you know, I'm going to start acting like an alpha and having the appearance of an alpha, and I'm going to hope that I don't get in any situations where I become unmasked. All right? You know, you don't want to be that. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the person that is completely 100% authentic. And you know what? You could be fucking completely have all of the you know, be completely open about everything about that you're doing in your life, have everything that you're doing be fucking exposed, and you could be like, yeah, I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, but I'm trying to do my best, I'm trying to make the world a better place, and I'm trying to do good, I'm trying to do good things. You want it to be like that, right? And then it's like you can be completely I don't mean this literally, but You can feel completely fucking naked, completely fucking exposed, and you won't feel like I have to run away. When you get completely exposed, if that happens, or whatever, or if it did in some theoretical sense, you would be able to be like, okay, like this is who I am. You know, I've been exposed, I've been uncovered, you know. I have to laugh at myself a little bit. You know, some of the things that I'm doing are stupid. I'm making mistakes, but, you know, being exposed like that doesn't, you know, just make me look like a complete piece of shit. That's what you want, okay? And so when you know, since bodybuilding and people that are into bodybuilding, it's such a big thing that, you know, they're trying to cover up some kind of insecurity or something, or some kind of problem. I'm telling you this for your benefit. All right, let's get to the first question. Harley asks, hey Dan, maybe something that would be helpful in the podcast. I just tore my bicep. The tendon detached from the forearm. Is there a cycle that would help make a speedy recovery, or at least keep my muscle mass on for the time being? Currently on 700 test, 250 tren, and they're both enanthate. Okay, so the first thing is that if you tear your tendon off, it needs to be reattached by a surgeon, okay? Because the tendon is what connects the muscle to the bone. So if your tendon is torn off, now your muscle no longer has anything to pull against, because muscles pull against bones to move joints, okay? So that's the first thing that has to happen. And, you know, when you don't want to be like on a cycle when you're doing something like a surgery, you know, you if you're going to be doing a surgery, you should be on TRT, and your doctor should know that you're on TRT, okay? Because when you're, especially if you're getting put under and stuff like that, you're dealing with your life here, okay? And they have to know what you're on, what medicines you're taking, in case something goes wrong, in case something happens, okay? So for bodybuilders that are, you know, don't go into any surgeries on cycles. You have to come off for the surgery, okay? That's the first thing. And then as far as like what will help your tendon recover, well, nothing speeds recovery from surgeries like human growth hormone, pharmaceutical grade, okay? And you know what, is specifically with tendons, is there is spot growth from injecting human growth hormone into tendons. There's research that shows that when you inject the tendon, the specific research is on knee tendons, and it shows that when you inject the tendon with the human growth hormone, the actual tendon grows and has a faster rate of growth than other parts of the body. But in general, with human growth hormone, okay, it has metabolic effects where it shifts nutrients so that nutrients are going more towards athletics and more towards muscles and being taken out of fat, okay? That's one thing it does as far as metabolism, and that's the way that and it also increases androgen receptors, so it makes the steroids work better. So those are kind of the ways that it helps bodybuilding. But the main effect of growth hormone is on collagen tissue, okay? So skin, tendons, bone, those kinds of things are what are really being affected more directly by the action of human growth hormone. So as far as tendon growth, collagen growth, you're getting like a 3 times speed enhancement from taking systemic growth hormone, okay? On those things. And this is pretty close to what you see with like professional athletes when they make miracle recoveries where the doctor doesn't even know how he did it because he's so superhuman. It's like, oh, he recovered in 1/3 of the time. That's pretty typical. Okay. But in addition to this, if the actual tendon that is hurt is injected with the growth hormone, and obviously you wouldn't do this when you got out of a surgery, right out of the surgery when the tendon's still all fucking weak and shit. Obviously you have to wait until it's strong enough to have a little tiny needle stuck into it. Okay. You don't do that the day you come out. But or if you have like a hurt tendon in general and it's not ripped or something like that, injecting the actual tendon makes spot growth in that tendon with human growth hormone. And the other thing is you're going to get a lot of stuff like all this stuff that people can, have, codes on and get kickbacks on, telling you to take all of this mystery substances that, can be sold online, these peptides and shit, and saying like, oh, this is the healing peptide. This is how you heal. You take this. And you know what? That's not what the pros are using, okay? You want to do everything with your bodybuilding as close to the way that the pros are doing it. You do not want to be just being a damn lab rat, okay? You want to do it like the pros are doing it. You want to do it as closely as you can, okay? And they're not using that shit, okay? They're not using those peptides. They're using pharmaceutical grade human growth hormone. If you want to do some stuff, that has no fucking long-term research behind it, human growth hormone has long-term research behind it, what happens when people use it. Same thing with anabolic steroids. But these other substances, they do not have long-term research on it. You don't know what those things are going to do long-term, okay? You become the test subject when you take those. And you know what? You're taking things that are supposed to make you grow. They're supposed to make things grow. So, what's it going to grow? Well, hopefully it only grows your muscles, right? Or hopefully it only helps you get better from your surgery or your injury, right? But you don't know. You don't know because there are no long-term studies. So you have no idea what's going to happen, okay? And you're taking things that make things in your body grow. Does that sound like things could go horribly, catastrophically wrong? Think before you do these things, okay? All right. If you want to keep muscle mass on, so Harley was asking about his torn muscle, and he wants to keep muscle mass on. Well, you want nitrogen retention, okay? You want to have a positive nitrogen balance, or at least an equilibrium of nitrogen balance, because nitrogen is how we measure protein in the body. And protein leaving the body, the only storage facility for protein in the body is muscles. It's not stored anywhere else. Muscles, the actual fibers, not the pumped look of the muscles, but the actual fibers are made out of protein, which is nitrogen, okay? So if a person has a positive nitrogen balance, that means that they're accumulating protein nitrogen, which means that they're gaining muscle. If they have an equilibrium nitrogen balance, then that means that it's static. There's no muscle tissue being gained. There's no muscle tissue being lost. If they have a negative nitrogen balance, there's more nitrogen leaving the body than staying in the body. Well, that means that they're losing muscle tissue. That's the way it is. So you want to make sure that you do not have a negative nitrogen balance, okay? So the things that are going to help you the most with this is going to be something like testosterone and something like growth hormone, okay? Those are two major chemicals that reduce nitrogen excretion and promote nitrogen accumulation, okay? So if a guy was injured and he, was not being able to do a lot of exercise, but he wanted to he wanted to stay in an equal or positive nitrogen balance in order to prevent muscle tissue from leaving his body. Because, so we're going to say something around 500 milligrams of testosterone per week, but it could be 250 milligrams of testosterone per week, something in that range. Or, the person could be a little bit higher, it really depends on where they are. And something like 2 IUs of human growth hormone per day, okay? That's really it, okay? And if you have to add something else, you add something that really enhances nitrogen retention or makes nitrogen excretion stop, okay? So the two hormones that really make nitrogen excretion stop are primobolan and trenbolone. And the one that really makes it enhanced, Anavar, okay? So that I gave you, quite a little list of options right there that are basically your main options. And the other thing is that, and I don't want to encourage this, but I just have to include it in here because it's a fact, is that insulin has a huge effect on positive nitrogen balance, okay? Why? Because it opens up your cells. Anything that's in your bloodstream goes into the cells. Whatever energy is in your bloodstream goes into the cells. It leaves the blood and goes into the cells when you take insulin, okay? Or when you have your natural insulin working, okay? So having a good insulin sensitivity and having a good insulin response to meals, or if a person is an insulin user, Those are all going to be things that are going to affect them staying in a positive nitrogen balance. All right. I think that was really comprehensive in the shortest time possible about, how you cannot fall apart when you get injured and, you can't weight lift and you don't want, your fucking muscle tissue to just leave your body. Okay. Because the muscle tissue, as long as the actual tissue is there, it can be reanimated fast once you get training again, and once you get eating again, and once you get on the roids again, okay, on the super sups again. The muscle can be reanimated extremely fast. We're talking 1 to 3 weeks, okay? And so this is the thing that you see with guys who have been on roids for a long time, and they're cruising, and it's like okay, he's on 250 test, 2IU growth hormone, or he's just on 250 test or something, and it's like he looks, like relatively normal, but like a big guy, he looks like he has a lot of thickness, but he doesn't look like, like this like freak or something. And then it's like 3 weeks later, you're like, what in the fuck? This guy has transformed into a different person in front of my eyes. Every time he goes to the gym, he looks different. Well, that's because he went on cycle and his muscle was reanimated. It went from hibernation mode to reanimation, motherfucker. All right, next question is from Anonymous. Dan, the last couple episodes of the Steroids podcast were really good as always. I did have a question that maybe you could go over. How do these IFBB pros use so much gear and maintain good skin? My back acne has acted up and started to bother me. I never had acne, not even as a teen in high school. Impressive. It seems to be with the higher tests, 700 milligrams plus a week, that usually starts the acne again. I've taken antibiotics for my skin and it did not seem to help much. The only thing that's been helping is dropping under 250 milligrams a week of test, and it slowly gets better. Could it be estrogen issue? I almost never get high estrogen sides except for my back knee. It could be a DHT or it could be an estrogen issue. Because you don't get a lot of estrogen side effects, which a lot of people don't know that the prostate being irritated is a major estrogen side effect. So it can be a DHT side effect too, but usually DHT only makes the prostate swell when it's mixed with high estrogen. Usually DHT alone with normal or low estrogen levels does not make the prostate swell. So that's the thing is that no, if a lot of people are saying like oh, I don't have estrogen side effects, but they're having trouble urinating, or the stream is weak when they urinate, or not a lot comes out when they urinate. Okay, well that is a sign that you have a high estrogen. Okay, the prostate is so sensitive to hormones, it's absurd. So that's really the thing, is that you notice when you decrease the test that your acne gets better and you don't have high estrogen sides. So I'm going to take you at your word and say you don't have high estrogen sides, but you're taking test, and when you take it high, it's causing you to get acne, and when you take it low, it's resolving. That sounds, if it's true that you don't have high estrogen, then that sounds like you're very sensitive to DHT, okay? And, that sucks too, because, as far as, how the pros do it, they're not taking all this shit that you guys are taking to get all big and everything. You ask what do pros use to get big? Well, they use megadoses of testosterone, megadoses of deca, nandrolone. They use megadoses of growth hormone. They use insulin, and they use a little bit of Anadrol and D-bol. And then we have all you amateurs out there, okay, thinking you're like this hot shit, and you're using like all these fucking chemicals, like these huge random combinations of chemicals and research chemicals, things that have never been used long term, who guys in the golden era, who guys in the 80s, who guys in the 90s, and who guys in the 2010s and the 2000s, none of these guys were using, but you think that's necessary for you. You're an amateur bodybuilder and you're not even their size. You are so misdirected and so distracted by all this information that is available on the internet that you are just, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. You are doing it wrong. Okay? You guys are doing it wrong. Okay, the way if you want longevity, and you want to be big, you cannot be doing these things that you are doing everything the amateur way, doing everything the non-professional way, winging it, thinking and going to the gym, not getting strong, taking all these ridiculous cycles with high doses of trenbolone, and it's like you can only bench 2 plates for 3 reps or something like that. It's just so freaking crazy. It's so freaking crazy, and it drives me insane because people are actually like defiant about this too, and like, no, I'm gonna do it my way, bitch. You know, and it's like, all right, well, you just do it your way then, okay? You know, you can do it your way, all right? And they're like, no testosterone, okay? I don't want to have high testosterone because high testosterone puts body fat on you. Okay, well, when you were a natural, did you think that, you know, increasing your test levels was going to make you have a lot of body fat on you? Dude, that is, it's like your mind is so mixed up from having so much information that you've lost the ability to sift through what is the big important factors and what is the small not important factors that don't really matter. You don't need all this shit, okay? You don't need all this shit that is being advertised at you, okay? What you need, because, you know, you were saying, how do these pros take so much gear, okay? Well, they take a lot of testosterone and they take a lot of DECA, okay? And if you can't take testosterone, then you have to take a lot of DECA, okay? And if you can't take DECA, then you have to replace it with primobolan or equipoise, okay? And that's what you grow on, is if you're trying to become a pro, forget all this garbage, forget all this shit that you think is required, okay? Because the natural non-toxic hormones, okay, testosterone doesn't put any fat on your body for one thing. It does put some water on the body, but you know what? There's things like diuretics for daily use for blood pressure that take that water off the body, okay? So one of those would be hydrochlorothiazide, 25 milligrams, and another one would be eplerenone, 25 milligrams. And these are things that are very safe diuretics that excrete salt, so the antidote to them is salt, but they're meant for daily use, and you know, millions of people around the world take them every day for their blood pressure, okay? And they take a lot of water out of your skin, okay? So now that we have that settled there, you know, testosterone is the cheapest hormone. It's also the safest, most non-toxic hormone. It's a natural hormone that has no toxicity, that does not mess you up. It doesn't put plaque in your arteries. It doesn't put plaque around your heart, okay? It doesn't hurt your organs. It doesn't do all this shit that all this other stuff does. It doesn't make you go insane, make your brain get all fucked up and fuck up parts of your brain and all this shit, okay? It doesn't do that, okay? But you have been misdirected and confused by so much information that you're scared to use a lot of testosterone. And even though you're taking this cycle like, oh, you know, I'm taking 500 test, I'm taking 525 tren, I'm taking 100 Anadrol, and I'm taking Masteron, and I'm taking Equipoise, and I'm taking all these SARMs, and I'm taking these research chemicals too. And then you hear someone say like, oh, well, you need to take 1,000 milligrams of testosterone in order to be a bodybuilder. And you go, what? 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week? Are you crazy? No, I'm not crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy. Man, you have been so misdirected and so confused by all the shit that has come out at you that you're not living in reality anymore. You think someone's crazy for taking 1,000 milligrams of a natural hormone that is non-toxic, that works really good for muscle building, and you're on all just God knows what kind of drug stack you are on, baby. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. Doing what I do and having the job that I have, it's like you're exposed to like what everybody's doing, and it's like I try to be very, very nice, and I am very nice about it when I talk to people. You know, I don't try to force anything on anyone. I let people make their own decisions, but I do give them, you know, the right information, the right way to do things, and then they have to make their own decisions for themselves about what they're going to do. And a lot of people reject the knowledge that I have to give them. But guys, I have a lot of experience, and I've actually been around the pros, and I've helped them with their shots and everything, and like as in like I've been there. I've watched them when they took their steroids. We've been in the same room pre-post workout, stuff like that. So it's like I've got a lot of experience, and I only want to help you. I mean, I think you would know that from listening to the podcast right now. By now, it's been so many episodes that I just want to help you, and it's up to you. I'm not going to force anything on anyone. If you want to do things your way, if you want to be the person who, says, oh, well, if I heard something a million times and it was the same thing, then it must be true. And if somebody else comes and says something and it makes sense, but it goes against what I've heard repeated like a parrot 10 billion times, then I just ignore the facts. And, I just do, if a lot of people are saying something, then it must be true. And I follow that. That's okay too. And I'm not going to make fun of you for it. I'm not going to say you're an asshole. I'm just going to be like, okay, well, I'll still be here. I'll still be putting out, the correct information. And you can come back anytime you're ready. And, I'll still be giving the correct information out here. So that's what it is with the pros, guys. If you're trying to put on size and you're trying to get big and strong, it's testosterone and it's DECA. And if you can't use those, well, then you have to alter them. You have to play with the dosages or take one out or whatever. And you got to use equipoise or primobolan, okay? And you play with those too. And then, of course, growth hormone is involved in being pro. Of course, insulin is involved with being pro. And, in order to break plateaus, what's used is principally D-bol and Anadrol, okay? So all this other stuff is the non-important stuff. Don't be distracted. Stay with the basics. The basics is what does it. Keep with the basics. A lot of you guys, another thing is that it's like, what should my routine be? And you don't know how to gain strength. Okay, you're going to the gym, you're saying, I'm taking the steroids, I'm eating, and I'm trying to lift heavy, but my strength doesn't go up. And it's like, well, you don't know training theory yet, So I would recommend at that point going back to the very start, man, and going on Mark Ripto's starting strength program and doing that. And then doing, a 5x5 program like Mad Cow 5x5. You need to learn training theory, because without that, with just going to the gym and being like, well, I'm exercising, or I'm doing a split, I'm doing these exercises, you don't know how to increase your strength, okay? And then you're using steroids, and then the steroids are like ineffective. You're not having what the result happens with your cycle. I'm being serious right now. So that's like, these things are what I'm here for. These things, I'm here to help you with these things. I'm here to keep you focused on the basics and to know and the advanced stuff and to know what really works, because I do know these things. I do know about training theory, and I do know about all this pharmacology and everything and how this shit works. So really it's up to you, but I want what's best for you. So that's what I have to say about that. I like seeing guys succeed. I like seeing guys have a path in life and feeling like they have direction. And I'm not jealous about it. I don't want other people to not be as big as me or something like that, which a lot of bodybuilders have this problem. I want you to be bigger than me. I want you to be stronger than me. I want you to be bigger than me. If you're coming to me for help, and that's your desire, that's what I want for you, and I'm going to help you do that. Okay? So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. All right? And if you want help with that, you can do a phone call consultation with me, or you can do the 1 month daily text messaging, private daily text messaging with me, unlimited text. All right? And so you just, you hit me up on steroidspodcast@gmail.com. Steroidspodcast@gmail.com. Not steroidpodcast@gmail.com. Steroidspodcast@gmail.com. All right, next question is from Nick. He says, evidence was a word co-opted by the academia level religion of science. People in order to knowingly push for narratives. And people bought in. Now evidence can only mean an academic research paper. Not what evidence means. I'm no anti-science tin hat. I read on average 3 studies a week from research engines. I try to stick to meta-analyses, which means like multiple studies put together and then like comparing the results of multiple studies, or multi-university studies. I also avoid ones involving Harvard and Columbia specifically. They are a joke in terms of legitimate research that follows the scientific method. I agree 100%. The science is a starting point. These scientific studies and shit, it's a starting point. And then you have to go beyond that if you want success, okay? Science really is like being, propagandized as a religion. And if you don't use your own, God-given mind to analyze that and critical thinking, to compare with your experiences, or if you have the opportunity with the experiences of thousands of others, opportunities like I've had, then you're gonna get fucking stuck, man. Because this research, a lot of it has vested interests, and the people that are doing the research are sponsored by someone who wants a certain result, or they themselves want a certain result, and it's just not stuff that's following the scientific method, but it's spat out there like a big sloppy shit pitched off into the toilet. Your science. Zach asks, hey man, quick question. If an athlete was going to use T-ball, which I would assume has to be done with a testosterone base, how would you hide the high test levels during drug testing? Okay, well, oral steroids do work without a testosterone base, okay? But it just kind of sucks, okay? Especially if you're using ones without an estrogenic component. So like if you're using Masteron or Winstrol or Anavar without any kind of estrogen component, like things just get shitty, okay? But that's not the case with D-ball. D-ball alone is very effective without testosterone. It has an estrogenic component. D-ball can also be metabolized by the 5-alpha reductase enzyme into DHT, dihydromethandrostenolone, which has potent effects in the brain. And so you get a full spectrum hormonal replacement effect off of D-ball, but you don't get that off of something like Winstrol or Anavar or T-ball for that matter, okay? So yeah, you're going to have better results. So as far as like people that are like trying to avoid testing, well, you have to see what the clearance times are for each drug, and then you have to be off of the drug for the amount of time for the clearance. It's not rocket science. It really is not rocket science. If you're on testosterone propionate, for example, you got to wait 4 days. If you want it to be out of your system, you got to wait 4 days, but more like 5 days, because if you wanted to be playing it safe, and a week if you really want to be playing it safe. Okay. But so see, you got to know, because it really takes like 3 or 4 days for testosterone propionate to be like gone. Okay. And then the other thing with like Turinabol, Winstrol, Anavar, most of those are out of your system. The metabolites that are tested for after 3 to 4 weeks. And so, if you took any Anavar or any T-ball, before that happened, before that time was up, you're going to test positive, So, of course there's masking agents and all this other bullshit, but especially for athletics, having the steroids in your system when you actually perform at the athletic event is more of a detriment rather than a plus, okay? For athletics, being on high doses of steroids or just steroids in general, it slows you down. It slows you down. You're not as quick. And you also get problems like pumps and shit like that. It's not helping you. So again, this is another thing. The way the pros do it is they use the anabolics in the off season or in the training, and then they're not on them when they're in the competitions. They're not on the anabolics. They were on them training, but then when they're doing the actual performance, the performance is increased by not being on the anabolics anymore, and the actual competition they're not on the anabolics, even if they get popped for it. And it's like, oh, well, he had this drug in his system. It was like, well, yeah, 3 weeks ago, but he was being stupid and didn't know, that he has to be off it for this amount of time in order to clear the test. So that's mostly what you're seeing there. All right, next question from Min. This guy's from Vietnam. Excuse me, sir, I want to ask you something. I really want to be a professional bodybuilder, an IFBB pro to be exact. I'm from Vietnam. Currently, conditions only allow me to practice and become an amateur athlete. I want to go to Thailand and become your student. If you can help me, I promise to try my best, and after success, I'll give it back 10 times. I will do all my best. Awesome. You know what? I love it. I love it. I love hearing stuff like that. And I have a special liking for like Asian people and Asian culture in general. So I really know this guy's coming from the heart, very sincere. He sent me some pictures. I looked at his pictures, and he's doing really good. And what I can say is that if you want to get big and you want to be a pro bodybuilder, that's your goal. Well, then you got to focus on getting your strength levels up on main lifts. Okay, so you got to have a big bench press. You got to have a big barbell row. You got to have a big deadlift. You got to have a big squat. You got to be able to do a lot of pull-ups. You got to be able to do pull-ups with weight attached to your body, okay? You got to have if you want big arms, you got to have a big freaking bicep curl. So like, bro, if you want 20-inch arms or bigger, I mean, you should be curling 2 plates, so 225 pounds, So these are the big factors that if you want to be a professional bodybuilder, you've got to achieve these things. You've got to get these big numbers. And, I've said things before, like 3, 4, 5, like 3-plate bench press for reps. So 315 pounds bench press for reps, 4-plate squat for reps, 400 pounds for reps, 5-plate deadlift for reps, 500 pounds for reps. Those are like minimum strength requirements, where before, if you want to be like a big dude who's bigger than most people, and he can go to any gym in the world and be one of the big guys at the gym and people respect, well, then you got to have those lifts. And if you don't have those lifts yet and they seem like, well, I could never do that, well, bro, that's your goal. So figure out training theory or get on a training program that allows you to move towards that goal so that you can do that. And then once you have that strength, you can start using that strength to do more volume, which is then going to build on the muscle mass, the size that you have. But gaining that strength is going to be absolutely essential in order to become very bigger than other people. And it's a deal breaker. It's a game. It's if you can't do that, you won't be able to get the size that you're looking for. You have to do that, okay? And then as far as gaining weight is, you can't be afraid of eating some junk food. So yes, of course, like, you want to eat clean most of the time, but if you can't gain weight, then you have to eat junk food in order to help you gain weight. And then as far as like, since living in Vietnam, probably not having, probably more modest on the financial side of things. As far as like what hormones you spend your money on, it would be testosterone, a lot of testosterone, and spending your money on that. And, if you had a secondary thing, DECA, if DECA doesn't agree with you, equipoise, that would pretty much be like, hormones, training, diet, advice for you, is moving those things forward. Okay. Thank you for the question, Min. Okay. Drake asks, hey, Dan, read your book and it was very helpful. Ultimate Guide to ROIDS. That's my book. If you go to bodybuilderinthailand.com, you can buy Ultimate Guide to ROIDS, which is the best book in bodybuilding history. It's full spectrum. It's not only about ROIDS. It's about diet training, ROIDS. It's got everything in there. It's got all the real information. If you listen to this podcast and you like my podcast, you freaking have to have read Ultimate Guide to ROIDS, because it's a pleasure to read. It's a 109-page ebook. And, when you read it, you're going to be like sitting on the edge of your chair, enjoying your time. It's not going to be like, oh, this fucking book. You know, you're going to be like, oh man, I remember that time when I was reading Ultimate Guide to ROIDS, and it was like when I read Harry Potter for the first time. I just couldn't take my eyes off of it until it was finished. I'm serious. So if you want to get that, go to bodybuilderinthailand.com, and you click on the first article on the homepage, and you can pick that up. It's less than $20. It's less than $20, man. It's less than half a vial a test to completely change your life in bodybuilding. And I did it that way. People say, oh, you should be charging at least twice as much for your book. And I'd be like, yeah, but that's not what I wanted to do, because I want people in every country, even third world countries, to be able to have the knowledge. I did that specifically. I don't want it to be inaccessible. I want people to be able to have it. I want everybody to be able to have the information, because to me, this whole thing that I'm doing, it's not a thing of like, oh, well, I want to take as much as I can and then not and screw everyone over and fuck everyone else. No, it's actually the exact opposite. I do not want to take as much as I can. I want to help everyone out. I want everybody to be feeling good. I want everybody to be doing good. And like I said before, if I was completely exposed, fucking made naked in front of the community or whatever, I could just be like, yeah, okay, well, I've made some mistakes, but I have nothing really to be ashamed of, and I can laugh at myself or whatever, and nothing came out that was like, oh, he's a fake or something, because I'm not a fake. I'm exactly the way that you in real life that you guys know me on the podcast. There is no difference. This is me, okay? This podcast is me. It's not just about bodybuilding. This is me and my personality that you are experiencing. All right. So he found the book helpful. This will be my second cycle, and I love using testosterone, but I experienced estrogen problems last time. Been wanting to try Deca, but I'm worried about losing my sex drive. I'm going to stack with Anavar either way. You said test makes all the other steroids work better. True. I have access to Reanimation and letrozole, but not exemestane. Which you prefer to use? What would be the best way to go about deciding? Okay, so the thing is that it's a game changer when you combine exemestane and letrozole, okay? Because exemestane is a suicidal aromatase inhibitor, which means it kills the aromatase enzyme and removes it from the body, okay? It binds it up, takes it out of the body, makes it not exist anymore. On the other hand, letrozole and arimidex just bind up to the enzyme, and it doesn't get removed from the body. It stays in the body. And then after a certain amount of time, they unbind from the enzyme, the aromatase enzyme that transforms testosterone into estrogen. And then that enzyme is now back in the bloodstream, and it's able to create estrogen out of testosterone again. So that's the difference between exemestane and others. So letrozole has serious full spectrum coverage on estrogen in binding up the aromatase enzyme and getting rid of estrogen effects, okay? So like a single 2.5 milligram tablet of letrozole is more powerful than 3 milligrams or 3 normal full tablets of Arimidex, okay? And it's because Arimidex just cannot get the full spectrum estrogen coverage that letrozole does, okay? So letrozole is a serious game changer. And for guys that are high estrogen converters, doing this protocol that I'm talking about it's the game changer. It allows you to gain control of your estrogen and not be always chasing it, okay? So what happens is you got to remove the aromatase enzyme from the body with the exemestane, okay? And then whatever is remaining, you bind it up with letrozole, okay? So this is critical for you guys that are big estrogen converters. You make a lot of estrogen. It's like if you're on more than 750 milligrams of test, it's like you're taking multiple AIs per, like multiple tablets of Arimidex or exemestane or whatever per day. Or even if you are on letrozole and it's not completely covering it, what I'm telling you right now is going to change your life. It's if you combine, the exemestane with the letrozole. So that you would take a few exemestanes per week, 3 or 4 or something like that, and then you'd get the rest of the coverage out of using letrozole as needed. So 3, 4, 5, even 7 tablets of letrozole per week, okay? And that's how you would then be able to get control of your estrogen conversion, and you won't be held back anymore by being like, well, I can't use high testosterone dosages because of my estrogen conversion, and I'm constantly chasing it. This is the antidote to that problem. Okay, Adam asks, hey man, about to throw Anavar into my cycle and wondering on cycle length, dosage, timings, etc. would be very great for the help, man. Cheers. Yeah, Anavar is really good. So it really increases nitrogen retention, protein synthesis. So it's really good with a high protein diet. And again, remember guys, basics. The accumulation of dietary proteins is the main mechanism of action of what steroids do. So if you're trying to optimize everything, you cannot be not putting dietary proteins in high amounts into your program, because that's what the steroids act on in order to build the tissue, not to build the pump, not to build the roundness, but to build the actual tissue that you take with you from cycle to cycle. Okay? So if you're being a bitch and saying, I can't eat that much protein. What are you talking about? 400 grams of protein? What are you even taking steroids for? You're not willing to do what is necessary, okay? Yeah, just what the hell are you doing? You're not even giving it the raw ingredients that is necessary. Now, not everyone needs 400 grams of protein. 300 grams of protein is acceptable for a bodybuilder. That's acceptable, okay? But 400 and even more, okay, even more will give better effects, okay? And you guys that like, you got money for all this stuff, you're like on all these drugs, you're on all these research chemicals, you're on all this shit. And then when I say like, oh, well, you're going to have to eat a lot of protein, 400 grams. And you go, what? How do you do that? Well, because I'm a man and I'm going to do what's necessary. Okay. Like, oh, I can't do that. It's too gross. Like, grow up. So, and here's the thing too. If you can't get a lot of protein down, definitely supplements help. The other thing is white fish helps, because white fish boiled has, it dissolves. You don't have to chew it. Okay, so you put some Tabasco sauce on that, and I'm just going to tell you how bodybuilders eat. One of my clients, he always posts these photos on Instagram where he posts pictures of his food, and he goes, his caption with it is, it's not rocket science. And what I always post pictures of my meat on Instagram, and I say, this is bodybuilding, with the pictures of the meat, because this is bodybuilding, okay? That's what you do when you're a bodybuilder. You eat huge amounts of protein, you eat huge amounts of meat, you eat other stuff with the meat, okay? But it's like huge amounts of meat is what you eat. That's how you put on muscle tissue that you take with you from cycle to cycle, and you get bigger from cycle to cycle, and you become a beast, you become a freak, that's what it takes, So it's like breakfast, lunch, dinner, meals in between. It's like each one, it's like, eating 3/4 of a pound to a pound of meat at each meal. It's like, that's not unusual for you. That's not weird. That's not something that like you're being this like total bitch, like complaining about, like, oh, that's too much meat, I can't do it. What are you, crazy? When I see this, man, it just drives me crazy. It drives me nuts hearing this stuff. Especially with all the drugs everyone is taking. It's absolutely incredible. Okay. So like seriously, it's like that dude who one of these dudes I train. He posts these pictures of his meat meals. And he says it's not rocket science, and I say this is bodybuilding or whatever, and it's like, well, yeah, people aren't willing to do it, and so you look at everybody, and it's like, well, yeah, people aren't willing to do it. You look at the gym and it's like, yeah, most people are on steroids. When you go to the gym and it's like, does most people, have a 3-plate bench for reps, have 4-plate squats for reps, have 5-plate deadlift for reps? And it's like, no, it's not. They're not willing to do it. They're not willing to do what's necessary. They're willing to take a bunch of drugs, and that's not going to do it. They're willing to do what they want to do, but they're not willing to do what has to be done. All right, next question. Well, I didn't answer his Anavar question, actually. So Anavar at like, 20 milligrams per day, that's the floor dosage, and it does work. But the 40 to 80 milligrams per day on Anavar is like the sweet area where it really is good. And the cool thing about Anavar is it increases muscle fullness too. My favorite way to use Anavar is combined with Winstrol, like equal dosages, like 40-40 or something like that. Because it has like a fullness and a cuts effect to it, especially like right where the muscle separates. It really freaky, really like on roids looking effect, especially to the silhouette of the bodybuilder. Yeah, and somewhere between like 4 to 8 weeks is good, for Anavar. So, and then the other thing is too, like you say, timings, and it's like, well, what do the steroids do? They aid in the accumulation of dietary proteins. So you want them peaking when the food is peaking, when the protein is peaking in your blood, okay? You want the oral steroids. You got your long-acting injectable steroids that are like a flat line on a graph that are always in your system, always going, okay? And then when your energy levels in your blood from your food spike, that's also when you want the hormone levels to be also spiking at the same time. So that's when you put orals in. So orals are taken with food primarily. There's a couple orals that go really good with workouts. All right. And, probably the principal one is Anadrol. And so usually, with Anadrol, you will take the whole dosage that you take per day, about 1.5 to 2 hours pre-workout. And, there's a couple others that could be considered like that. But really, Anadrol is like the one that is like that. Because even with D-ball, it's like you take it with meals. Okay. And that's just the general, this is the professional way. Okay. You can do it your way, or you can do it the professional way. I can move on now. Okay. Michael asks, can I get your thoughts on Anavar, Superdrol, testosterone, and Nanthate stack? Looking to gain 10 pounds of lean mass while taking body fat percentage down. You have to be realistic here, man. So Superdrol definitely cuts fat while it adds strength and muscle mass. There's no question. Okay. But you're talking about 10 pounds of hamburger, man. That is a shit load of muscle, okay? So, that's not realistic to be thinking you're going to be getting rid of, like noticeable body fat and then stacking 10 pounds of hamburger from the grocery store onto your body. Like, so the thing is that the nutrition requirements for gaining muscle is basically the opposite of the nutrition requirements for losing fat. And trying to combine these two goals, the people who are really trying, it's always a good thing to like strive for and shit, but the people who are like really trying to do that and like that's what they're trying to do all the time, usually not very successful at bodybuilding. Being able to make your body weight go up on a scale and being able to make your body weight go down on a scale is critical to making steroids work, okay? To making them work for you. That knowing how to do that is so important. And just taking steroids, working out, and then not knowing how to do that, and kind of like having your weight stay the same and stuff, and trying to get a lot of progress. I'm sorry, man, but you're going to be disappointed. That's just the way it is, because the nutrition requirements are basically opposite for gaining muscle and for losing fat. And there is like a genetic elite, who are able to break those rules. And then, you see them on social media or whatever, and they're like, well, this is how I do it. And then you think, well, I can do it like that too. And it's like, well, no, bro, like, before this guy even started taking steroids, he had a six-pack his whole life, and he couldn't even get rid of it if he tried. And you didn't have that. And now you think you can go do his program? Like no way. You got to do it the hard way. You weren't born like that. Okay. Next question. Okay. Thenu Jaya says, hey mate, just saw your video. How many gummy bears should we eat intra workout? And what time during the workout should we do it? Okay. Well, the whole thing with like the pre, intra, post workout nutrition, this is the most important time for nutrition and bodybuilding. Okay. And, everybody that tries my protocol with the intra workout carbs is like, oh my God, like it completely changed bodybuilding for me. It's like discovering a new class of anabolics or new steroids that I never knew existed or something, and they're getting this naturally from following my pre, intra, post protocol. Okay. And then the people who don't try it, they're like, what? and being like, you're crazy, all that sugar. Well, okay, stop. It's not sugar. Okay. It's bioavailable carbohydrates in the form of sugars that are pre-digested so that you don't have to digest them. Okay. And then when you're in the workout, and you're pushing blood into the muscle, the time of the day when the muscle has more blood in it than any other fucking time in your life, okay? And then you're also sensitized because during the workout, you're more sensitized to the nutrients. Actually, it's after every muscle contraction. The moment the muscle contracts and uncontracts is the time when it's the most sensitive. To taking up nutrients, okay? And then you're pushing the blood into it during that time, okay? And then the other thing about the carbohydrates or the people who are injecting insulin is that the carbohydrates that are totally bioavailable, like glucose or dextrose, makes a huge insulin response in your body, okay? So insulin is the hormone that takes whatever is in your bloodstream out of the bloodstream, pushes it into the muscle cells or pushes it into cells in general, okay? So if you have a high insulin level and your blood is loaded with the nutrients that your muscle needs to grow and recover, and then you are pushing blood through a pump into the muscle, and the blood is loaded, like I said, with these things, you are going to get insane, I'm talking insane results that you have never experienced in your life with whatever fucking type of anabolic protocol you want to be using. You will never have experienced it like this once you do this protocol, because now you're fucking optimized, okay? It changes the game. So what you do is, you can go, the video on this, and it's a video on YouTube, it's a live video. And then also it's a podcast. It's called Pre, Intra, Post Workout Nutrition Ultimate Guide, okay? That's what it's called if you want to go look at it, and you can go through the whole half an hour protocol. But basically, the easiest way that I could sum it up would be that like you were taking like a little bit of whey protein, like 50 grams pre-workout, and you were like 15 minutes pre-workout, and you ate something like 200 to 400 calories of Haribo gummy bears, which are made with glucose, not made with sugar. They're made with glucose syrup. So all of the carbohydrates contained in them are bioavailable to your muscles, and for putting insulin out into the blood and not decreasing insulin sensitivity like fructose, which is half of a sucrose or table sugar molecule. Okay. And then, during the workout, having an intra-workout carb drink. And this is when you can either put essential amino acids in it, or you could, you can put creatine in it, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Okay. But the main thing is the intra-workout carb drink, which again has to be a completely muscle bioavailable carb. So it can be dextrose, it can be glucose, or it can be one of these things, that these supplements companies try to sell you, for, much higher prices. This amount should be somewhere between like 100 to 200 grams of carbohydrates, and these numbers totally depend on the size of the bodybuilder. If you're a small guy and you're not like a full-fledged bodybuilder yet, of course you're going to be on the low side of the spectrum with this, like maybe 200 grams or 200 calories of the gummy bears pre-workout, and 25 to 50 milligrams of whey protein. And then during the workout, you might have like 50 to 100 grams of intra-workout carbs, but if you're a big guy, if you're a big dude and you're one of the dudes who's already goes to any gym and he's one of the big guys. Okay, well, you're going to need more. And so for those guys, that's what I'm talking about. About the guys like, well, yeah, you eat like 400 calories of the gummies, 15 minutes before with the 50 grams of whey protein, and then you get into the workout and, you have somewhere between like 100 grams to 200 grams of more carbohydrates, pre-digested, dextrose, glucose. And then the guys who are the most extreme, they're also taking pre-workout Humalog shot in order to make a pharmacological effect to this. And the dosage on the Humalog is usually something like 5 IUs or something. So then they're taking, instead of their natural insulin response, now they're taking a pharmacological, they're making it pharmacological, which makes it very much more potent and more like a drug effect. But this is very potent without injecting insulin, okay? And another way that you can make it even more potent is getting increased insulin sensitivity. So things like berberine, things like apple cider vinegar, things like CLA, anything that increases insulin sensitivity will further enhance this. All right, so that's the, you know what? One more. Benjamin asks, got any advice on high blood pressure? Any way to bring it down without having to come off gear? Well, first, you've got to take care of your blood pressure. This is one of the things that I neglected for about 5 years on steroids, and it's one of the reasons why I have slight plaque in my heart, okay? And coronary artery. And this is very common among bodybuilders. Very common. How you get it checked is you go to the hospital and you take a cardiac calcium scoring scan. Sometimes it's also called a heart view scan. And they check how much, if any, plaque is in your heart, okay? Calcium plaques. And, high blood pressure, maintaining this for a long time is one of the main risk factors for that happening. And if it's something that can be taken care of easily, and not a big deal by taking some kind of angiotensin receptor blocker or inhibitor, enzyme inhibitor, so that can be something like lisinopril, or it can be something better like telmisartan. And because telmisartan also has the added benefit of preventing and reversing left ventricular hypertrophy, which is also, if you've got an elevated heart rate, if you're on cycle all the time and your heart rate's always between 80 to 100, and almost everyone that I talk to, because I talk to people, remember, I'm talking to people on the phone, I'm doing phone consults, I'm doing the text message training with people, okay? And almost everyone that runs Trenbolone cycles, their heart rate is between 80 to 110 beats per minute resting, okay? And if you do this and you maintain high blood pressure and you have bad cholesterol levels, for long periods of time, everybody on steroids has bad cholesterol levels unless they're running testosterone only. You're going to get plaque in your heart, okay? You're going to get plaque in your heart. You're going to get plaque in your coronary artery. And, this is going to be a problem for you. And the other thing is that, you're going to be risking having left ventricular hypertrophy, which is where the pumping chamber, the left ventricle of the heart, grows in on itself, okay? Because the heart is a muscle, and when it's being under constant stress with high heart rate, high blood pressure, big body, okay, it's going to grow, okay? And you're going to get left ventricular hypertrophy, which makes it so that your heart can't pump as, not as much blood can come into the pumping chamber because it grew in on itself, the heart muscle. And then eventually, it's heart failure, and I've seen this happen with guys. I have seen it happen with people who are involved in bodybuilding, heart failure, because the left ventricular hypertrophy progressed so much that they are not able to efficiently or pump enough blood from the pumping chamber to the other chambers and out, into the bloodstream. Their heart has grown in on itself. It's disgusting, and lost that ability. Okay, so you have certain medications that can be like an insurance policy against this, like telmisartan or nebivolol, that can prevent and reverse existing left ventricular hypertrophy, and they do that while lowering your blood pressure at the same time. So it was great talking to you guys today, and a very important episode. I enjoy it. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all you listeners. Most of you guys are fucking awesome guys. And I love talking to you guys. I love helping you guys out with your lives. You know, you guys are doing things. You guys have big goals. You guys are really trying your hardest. And when I see that kind of stuff, I see that kind of work ethic. It makes me be like, yes, I want to get behind this guy. And you know, I want to see you do good, because like I said earlier in the podcast, I am not someone who is jealous, and I'm not someone who doesn't want you to get bigger and better than me or something. Or something like that, okay? I want you to get on your goal, and I want you to do your best, and I want to see you fucking succeed, okay? So if you want to pick up my book, Ultimate Guide to ROIDS, 109-page ebook by Dan the Bodybuilder from Thailand, bodybuilderinthailand.com. If you want to do phone call consult with me, or you want to do text message training with me, steroidspodcast@gmail.com, okay? Or you can hit me up, Bodybuilder in Thailand on Instagram, but it's kind of hard to get a hold of me on Instagram because there's so many questions. All right, I'll talk to you guys next time.